X-Men 97 fixing to come out, I've kind of been on a little bit of an X-Men kick here lately, which you could say that's probably been for the last 30-something years. Me and my pal, the Nerdworm, made a collaboration video where we were discussing all our X-Men figures, and I highly recommend his channel. If you like collecting toys, looking at other people collect toys, it's really good. He's got some great videos that just came out. I'll post a link in the description so you can go check his channel out. But when we made that video, I actually wanted to show off a certain set that I had, and that was the arcade style Pryde of the X-Men figures. So right here I got a Kitty Pryde, which they haven't made a Pryde of the X-Men Kitty Pryde figure that actually matches up with the arcade style. And they also didn't make a Professor Xavier that matches up. Also, I'm missing two of those, but I just put Kitty in there just to have her. Nightcrawler, which is a very articulate figure. I mean, you can pretty much put him almost any position you need him to be in. Probably one of the best ones. He fits the style perfectly. Next is Dazzler, which I've added the... I actually don't even know what that came from. I think it actually came from a Power Ranger set, but it kind of works. But yeah, that's a good figure too. They have a couple different Dazzlers. One's from Mojoverse, and the other one is like the Disco Queen Dazzler. This Wolverine is from the retro packaging. It's a good style Wolverine. This one, you can pretty much pose him any way you needed him to. I'm a big fan of the brown costume. This one, he does have a loose claw. A Big Daddy Cool Colossus here. And this came from the Juggernaut Colossus 2-pack, which is a great 2-pack. Not a lot of articulation with this figure, but it's the closest Colossus that you could get to look like the arcade X-Men. But I mean, this Colossus fits in pretty much anything. And this is the Cyclops from, I think it was the Phoenix 2-pack. He does have loose feet, but I mean, he can stand most of the time. I've never really had an issue with him. He does have like a little gap right here in his chest that you can see through, but that's no big deal. It's probably one of the better Cyclopses besides like the ones from the X-Men animated series style. The next one is Storm, and I kind of put her in like an action pose where she's flying, because most of these Storms do not stand well at all. This one stands better than most of them. I can't actually get her to stand, but she just looks cool flying. But this one came with this one came in the Thunderbird 2-pack, I believe, which I just bought her loose. I didn't buy the 2-pack. Now moving on to the villains of Pryde of the X-Men, I started out with this Toad, which is the 20th anniversary version of the character, and I'm not even really sure if there's a whole lot of Toad variants out there, but this is probably the closest, which he's a little bit skinnier than the cartoon, but I am a fan of the head sculpt on this one. Next is Pyro, and I mean, you can't really mess Pyro up. He looks really good. Comes with these little fireball fists, which is pretty neat. But I mean, you can use this Pyro in any collection. If you wanted to make the animated series Brotherhood, this Pyro fits that. Pyro just never really changed over the years. But yeah, this is a really good figure. He came in the Rogue 2-pack, which that we can talk about that Rogue another time. That's not a very good Rogue, but you know, it looks like they spent the majority of their time with Pyro. Now, he barely fits on the screen, but we have Juggernaut, and this was the Juggernaut with that Colossus. Probably one of the best Juggernauts they've made. Actually, he probably has a little more articulation than Colossus does. He's got a couple different head sculpts. I like this one. I don't like the battle damage ones. This is a really good Juggernaut, and by comparison you can tell how huge this figure is. And Mystique wasn't in Pryde of the X-Men, but she was in the arcade game, and it was just for like a split second because she's pretending to be Magneto as one of the bosses. I changed the guns. She came with like a little gold pistol, and I felt like this gun's probably more her style. But yeah, there's quite a few of them I don't have that was from the arcade, and that was Nimrod, if you want to call that Nimrod. White Queen, which is actually in Pryde of the X-Men, but I'm waiting for more waves of X-Men 97 to see if they put a White Queen in there. Another one I forgot to mention was Wendigo. Wendigo was in the arcade X-Men. They have one that's very similar to the arcade style, but his color is a little bit grayer than I would like, but yeah, that might be one I have to get later on. Alright, moving on to the Blob, who also barely fits on screen here. He has less articulation than Colossus and Juggernaut, but if you want a comic style Blob, this is the perfect Blob. The one thing that I did have a problem with was two different head sculpts, but one of them he doesn't have the sideburns for some reason. This one does have the sideburns, but the other one doesn't have the sideburns. Magneto. This is from X-Men 97 Wave 1, and it's just your typical Magneto. You can't really say anything bad about it. The only thing wrong with this is he has gloves on. Pryde of the X-Men, he doesn't wear gloves for some reason. And that's really all I had to say about the figures themselves, the style of X-Men Arcade and Pryde of the X-Men. But hopefully that wasn't too boring. Stay tuned, and the next video I plan to do will be Pryde of the X-Men VHS. But I will see you guys next time.